On Sunday, October 2nd, 2022, about 156 million Brazilians cast their votes in the first round of the presidential election to select their country's next leader from a field of 11 contenders. If no candidate receives more than 50% of the total valid votes cast in the first round, eliminating blanks and voids, a runoff election is set for Sunday, October 30th. Beginning on January 1st, 2023, the president-elect will lead the South American nation for 4 years. So as you can see, this fall and winter in Brazil will celebrate the elections only. What should you know about this election? Which facts are there that you shouldn't miss? Curious to know? Stick around till the end. Hello and welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we will walk you through a couple of interesting facts about the elections in Brazil. For more surprising videos to watch, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Having stated that, let's get started. According to polls, incumbent far-right Jair Bolsonaro will face off against former leftist President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in the first round of voting on Sunday. However, social media misinformation and electoral system criticism increase the likelihood of a disruptive democratic game. On October 2nd, voters in Brazil cast ballots in 4 additional elections in addition to the presidential one. Here's a summary of the issues at stake in the next elections in Brazil. Lula favored over incumbent Bolsonaro. Although there are 11 contenders for the top job, the Datafolha Institute's most recent estimate, released on Thursday, September 29th, shows that media attention is concentrated on the two who together account for 86% of vote intentions. The left-leaning ex-president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is projected to win both the first and second rounds by a wide margin by the main polling organizations. With 50% of the vote and a potential first-round victory over the incumbent president Jair Bolsonaro, who is credited with 36%, the politician who ruled from 2003 to 2011 is now running in his 6th presidential election, is the leader of a very large coalition. After his convictions were overturned in 2021, Mr. da Silva, who served 580 days in prison for corruption in 2018 and 2019, has made a tremendous recovery. He is running for president for the 3rd time. The 76-year-old ran for office on a platform of rebuilding a bitterly divided nation and pledged to fight for environmental protection as well as to end hunger. The founder and head of the Workers' Party, whose public policies helped bring almost 40 million Brazilians out of poverty, finished his presidential term in 2010 with a record level of support. In the last stretch of the campaign, the former metal worker has gotten backing from several notable individuals and wants to gain from the tactical vote. When asked to select democracy, former center-right President Fernando Henrique Cardoso in 1995 to 2002 impliedly urged Brazilians to choose Mr. da Silva rather than Mr. Bolsonaro. Since then, Marina Silva, Cardoso's former environment minister, has publicly endorsed Mr. da Silva. Jair Bolsonaro, the current president, is less popular and has less backing from the financial elite. 2 additional candidates want to present the 3rd choice and influence the outcome. Attempts by Ciro Gomes and Simone Tebet to sway voters on the center-left may fall short. Large-scale deception campaigns. The presidential race has been characterized by significant online disinformation tactics, primarily in favor of Mr. Bolsonaro, similar to the country's previous election. President Bolsonaro's name was added to the list of suspects in the spread of false information while he was in office in August 2021 by Alexandre de Moraes, a judge of the Supremo Tribunal Federal, or STF, Supreme Federal Tribunal, which had commissioned an investigation. Brazil is one of the nations Facebook has designated as at risk for disinformation efforts, and it would theoretically benefit from further targeted tools to identify and thwart destabilization operations. But in August 2022, the NGO Global Witness declared that it had been successful in publishing several political ad campaigns online that contained false information, including the incorrect election date and misinformation about absentee voting. These ads were purchased by a foreign-based account that was not registered in Brazil, and the account had not verified its identity, which is often required to post political advertisements on Facebook. All of these red flags should have theoretically notified the platform's moderation services. Election system violations. Another issue is the possibility that Bolsonaro could reject the outcome of the presidential election if he loses due to his criticisms of the accuracy of electronic voting, which was gradually adopted in Brazil in the 1990s. The Superior Electoral Tribunal, or TSC, agreed to look into the president in August 2021 as a result of his tirades against the electoral process. Additionally, some of his admirers, many of whom call him Mito, the myth, have already stated that they are prepared to claim fraud if the former officer loses, as they did for his close comrade Donald Trump in the United States, prompting concerns of violence. In the hopes that the Brazilian election would be held in a free, fair, transparent, and credible manner, the White House spokeswoman stated on September 27th that the United States closely monitored the Brazilian election. The decrees Mr. Bolsonaro has signed recently, including those on the free movement of firearms and the fact that soldiers are conducting a parallel count at 400 polling places, are escalating tensions, even though it is impossible to predict what form a potential challenge to the results might take. If Mr. Da Silva is not elected in the first round, this toxic environment can linger for several weeks. Brazilians must vote in addition to the presidential election. Voting is required for those above the age of 18 and optional for those under 16 to choose all of the regional MPs who sit in each state assembly, as well as the governors of the 27 states in Brazil. 1/3 of the 513 federal MPs and 81 senators need to be re-elected. Political scientist Gaspar Estrada at SciencePo advises paying close attention to these election outcomes, particularly those for the House of Representatives and the federal Senate. The fact that this is a one-round election with an open list proportional system rather than a single-member constituency election, he claimed, reinforces the dispersion of votes. According to Mr. Estrada, the next president, who will have to construct a coalition out of a highly divided House, needs to win these elections. Who are the leading candidates? 11 people are running for president, but Bolsonaro and Da Silva are the frontrunners. Despite recent increases in Bolsonaro's popularity, most surveys still place him in the low 30th percentile of voter preference. Brazilians as a whole are dissatisfied with the 67-year-old incumbent's leadership. According to a Datafolha study conducted in mid-September, 44% of respondents disapprove of the president's job performance. Da Silva's political return would be astounding if he were to win. Brazil was governed by the 76-year-old former metal worker from 2003 to 2010. During a period of economic expansion and a boom in commodity prices, he increased social welfare programs that assisted millions in escaping poverty. Da Silva was one of the most well-liked politicians in the world when he left office. But in 2017, he became embroiled in a massive corruption probe known as Operation Car Wash, which resulted in his imprisonment in 2018. Da Silva, who has consistently maintained his innocence, served 580 days in prison before being freed in 2019. His sentence was overturned. Brazil's interests are at stake. Brazil has some of the highest confirmed coronavirus mortality rates worldwide. It has struggled to recover from the economic crisis that the epidemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine have sparked worldwide. Other nations in the area, notably Chile and Colombia, have shifted to the left as a result of economic difficulties, high inflation, and unhappiness over inequality and corruption. The most difficult post-election task will be the economy. Bolsonaro recently bragged at the UN that Brazil's economy is fully recovering. However, economic growth is sluggish, and poverty is being exacerbated by inflation. After 4 years of Bolsonaro's administration and hard right rhetoric, political scientist Guilherme Cesaris claims that Brazil's electorate is now extremely split. The president maintains that he's the protector of traditional family values, which helps him gain the support of an increasing number of conservative evangelicals. During the outbreak, he opposed mandatory mask use and lockdowns. Additionally, he significantly reduced the Amazon's environmental regulations through executive orders while also loosening Brazil's gun laws. What concerns the region as well as the rest of the world? Brazil's protection of the Amazon has been significantly weakened as a result of Bolsonaro's backing for agribusiness and contempt for environmental activists. Deforestation in the biodiverse forest of the world hit a 15-year high under his reign, and forest fires increased dramatically. One of the planet's most significant carbon absorbers, the Amazon rainforest, is currently releasing more carbon into the atmosphere. According to some scientists, the Amazon could experience irreparable environmental destruction and a point of no return without stricter regulations. Bolsonaro, who makes fun of his nickname Captain Chainsaw, asserts that numerous fires were purposefully lit to harm his reputation. Deforestation rates decreased under da Silva, and if re-elected, the former president has vowed to once more safeguard the forest. In the lead-up to the election, Bolsonaro's attack on democratic institutions has also gotten worse. He has spent the better part of the year preparing his ardent following for a potential vote grab, very much like the ex-president Donald Trump, who the Brazilian leader holds in high regard and who made bogus claims. So that's all for today's video. What do you think about the elections in Brazil? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you loved today's video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more similar stuff. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. We'll see you with the next one. Thanks for watching.